In this clip, you see a couple of things to prevent the spread of COVID-19. You have a traffic pattern through the doors. You have a whiteboard that says they need to put hand sanitizer on. It's mandatory before entering. You also have a white box covering what used to be drinking fountains. In these next clips, you see a screen that will minimize face-to-face contact, and these elementary school students walking a considerable distance apart is all just trying to stop the spread of COVID-19, especially in a school environment.
Hi, I'm Brinley, and I will be interviewing my teammate MJ Andrus. She's on the Michigan State soccer team. So, MJ, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. So you being a student athlete here has allowed you to be on campus. Do you feel safe here?
I do definitely, yeah. Michigan State's definitely done a good job of keeping us athletes in our own little bubble. Also within our team, we've been very separate from other people, other teams, which has kept us kind of safe from anyone carrying the virus.
Right. How has your experience with Michigan State athletics been so far as your team and
It's
your
been
practices?
very good. No, it's been very good so far. We've done, we haven't had as much practicing as I would have loved to just because of COVID, but our coaching staff has been awesome. Our trainers have been awesome. They've definitely been making sure we're staying safe and productive as much as we can.
Right. Okay. What protocols are you guys being asked to do, being a student athlete here?
So we have to get spit tested every Tuesday. At first we were getting it up the nose, but now we are getting spit tested every Tuesday, and then we have to wear masks at all times during practice, other than when we're doing running, but we're very separated within 6 feet apart. So
Okay.
yeah, we're definitely staying as safe as we can.
So have you guys had to quarantine, or how has COVID worked with your team?
Yeah,
Have you
no,
guys-
we have contact tracing, so a couple times some of my freshmen, one of the girls tested positive, and because we came in contact with her throughout the dorms, we all had to quarantine for 14 days at the Kellogg Center. And then recently another freshman got it, and because again we were in the dorms, we all had to quarantine again. So it's definitely been on and off.
Yeah. Wow, that
throughout our
must
team.
be a lot mentally.
Yeah,
and
it is.
physically.
It is hard sitting in a room on your own, but
Yeah.
we're here, we're good.
So you being a student here and all your classes being online, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you can learn this way, or do you think classes should be in person? How do you feel about that? It's okay. So you being a student here, obviously all your classes have been online. Do you feel you can learn this way? How has that been for you?
Honestly, online school has not been too tough. The classes are pretty easy, and the teachers are very understanding on due dates and assignments. I honestly feel like next year, when hopefully the classes will be in person, I might hit some culture shock just because I'm not going to be used to the challenge of in-person quizzes and exams and all that jazz. But honestly, I think that the fact that we have online classes right now, us being student athletes and being able to get out and run around has been beneficial, because sitting in here not playing a sport would be very tough on the mind.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for your
thank you
time.
very much. Have a good day.
Any linked cases or transmission that we believe occurred inside the building.
Okay. Now, has your school been handling this transition from traditional learning? How has your school been handling this transition from traditional learning?
I think like with any change, there's been a lot of growing pains. It's definitely been stressful for the staff and the students, but I really think our staff have sort of taken on the challenge, and I admire how hard they've been working. I think one of the biggest challenges as we've gone from being fully remote to being AB is the task of teaching your in-person students at the same time as streaming to our students that are at home. That's been particularly challenging. But I think overcoming the challenges of learning new technology on the fly, and the fact that now none of us have been trained for what we're doing, right? Like, this is not how any of us thought education would be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's been the biggest challenge, is kind of shifting our mindset from what we know and accepting all the challenges that have been kind of thrown our way in the last 6 months.
Okay. Now, what would you say were some of the key factors in making this transition?
The overriding factor from day one has always been student and staff safety. In the spring, transmission rates in the community were much lower, but so much less was known about COVID. the whole state was shut down, so we shut down immediately. And then in our planning over the summer, the focal point has always been, how can we keep our students and staff safe while also providing them a high quality education. And sometimes the two kind of bump into each other along the way, and so we never lose sight of safety. That has been the priority and the focus driving any of our transitions from remote to AB, and now thinking about the potential of coming back all in or remaining on a hybrid model. It really always comes back to student and staff safety.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What is your stance on the debate for whether or not school should be in class or online amidst this pandemic?
I joke around and always say that at any moment I could be convinced of either side of that argument, but I really do feel that what's best for students is to be in person in school. There have been a lot of challenges with bringing that back to fruition, but I think in order to develop relationships with our students, in order to foster their social emotional growth, and in order to support them academically, we can best do that in person. It's possible to do some of those things remotely, but really and truly, I think we are most effective when the kids are here in person.
Okay. Now, what are some of the precautions being taken throughout the school?
The first thing we did last March is we closed down completely and went fully remote. And since the beginning of this school year, we've gone from a fully remote start to following a hybrid schedule. So we have A days and B days, which means about half of our student body is here one day a week and the other half come the following day, and they alternate. So I think our biggest precaution has been just limiting how many students are in the building at one time. Once they're here in the building, we've revamped all of our building systems. So everything looks different. Our arrival and dismissal are much different at this point. We have many more students that are arriving by car than by bus. We are limiting the amount of students that we allow in through any entrance at a given time. We are staggering the unloading of buses so we don't have crowds developing around doorways or too many kids in the hallways at once. We're using multiple entrances and exits, where in the past we had one walker and car rider entrance, and now we're using multiple entrances for each. Inside the building, it looks completely different. We have directional arrows in all of the hallways, and we have water fountains that have been covered. Our students are no longer using the water fountains. There's signage throughout the building to remind students to stay to the right-hand side and what direction they should be walking. The use of the bathroom facilities is different. We've closed them during passing periods, and students have to request to use them out of their classroom, and we've instituted a pass system, limiting the number of students that are in each bathroom at any given time. And so the students have a pass that they carry with them, and they Velcro it to a sign on the bathroom door, and if they have 3 passes on the door, they know they need to wait before they enter. Inside the classroom looks different as well. Our seats, our desks are always facing one direction, and they're spread apart as far as we can spread them in every classroom in one row, or in rows facing one direction. The teaching areas in the room are kind of delineated by 6-foot boxes on the floor. Teachers are not required to stay in the box. They can move about the room as much as they're comfortable, but it's just to give that visual for what 6 feet of distance actually looks like. Our hallway transitions are completely different. We are staggering students leaving the classroom, and they're entering and exiting at the same time, so they're not lining up outside the classroom doors anymore before the entrance, so we don't have any students congregating anywhere. And then another difference we have is lunch. We're not using the lunchroom this year. We're eating in classrooms with much smaller groups of kids. And I guess a big safety precaution we've been taking is masks. The students are wearing masks. If they're not eating, they have to wear their masks at all times, staff as well. And we're going outside for mask breaks as often as we can.
Okay. Now, has there been any outbreaks of COVID in this school so far?
Not an outbreak of COVID, but we have had isolated instances where students and staff members have been COVID positive. But at this point,